Welcome to Hotze Elite Physicians Podcast, where you'll learn how to help your patients obtain and maintain health and wellness naturally, and how you can have more time, more money, and more freedom to enjoy your life. And now your host, Dr. Hotze.
Physicians often ask me to give them advice about marketing their medical practices. Hello, I'm Dr. Steve Hotze, and I believe you need a coach to help you build a successful medical practice so you can have more time, more money, and more freedom to enjoy your life. Today on this broadcast, I'm going to cover three things. One, my marketing philosophy. Second thing, the big picture concept of marketing strategies that I've used to grow my medical practice and my enterprises. And finally, I'll encourage you to identify the areas of your marketing strategy that you can increase and improve so that you get more leads in your practice. Well, recently we held an event in Dallas with a group of physicians discussing the Hotze Elite Physician Program, and the question I was most commonly asked by these physicians was, how can I enhance or improve my marketing so that I can become more successful and grow my practice? Well, I've always believed in marketing. And marketing is a way that you communicate to your target audience what your offering is. And way back in the early 1990s, when I was in practice on the north side of Houston, a small little office where I practiced occupational and family medicine, I had gone over to a restaurant nearby for lunch one day, and I saw on the back of a sugar package a saying. And all the packages that they had at this restaurant, they had little sayings on the back of the sugar package. And this saying said, "He who has a thing to sell and goes and whispers in a well will never make the kind of dollars like he who gets on the roof and hollers." That really struck home with me because I had at that time already, early in the early 1980s, put an ad in a local newspaper about my day and night medical clinic there on the North Freeway in Houston, Texas. So this taught a key principle. If you have something that you're offering or selling to the public, I don't care if it's medical services or legal services, whether it's air conditioner units or shoes or clothes or lawn services, you've got to in some way communicate what your product or service offer is to the target audience so that you can get some business. The key point about this little saying, "He who has a thing to sell and goes and whispers in a well," if you're just whispering in a well and not telling people, nobody hears about you. You've got to stand on the roof and tell people and holler and let people know what you're doing. And there's a great example of that in Houston. A gentleman by the name of Jim McElvey owns a furniture store. It's called Gallery Furniture. And my office on the north side of Houston was within a half a mile of his office, which was just slightly further north on the same freeway on which I was located. And he started on TV, and he always ended his commercials and he had a little bitty furniture store in a little bitty house that has grown to be the largest furniture store in all of Houston over the last 35 or 40 years. But anyway, he got on TV and he'd always go, "I'll save you money." That's the way he ended every commercial. He was loud, and everybody knew Mattress Mac in town. That was his name, Mattress Mac. Well, now he sponsors the major bowl games in town. Everywhere anybody is, when they think about furniture, it always pops into your mind, Gallery of Furniture. You can't get it out of your mind because Mattress Mac has always been there touting his goods and services for decades on TV and on radio. So you have to be willing to communicate your offering to your target audience. And there are ways, and we're going to talk about ways that you can do that. So you have to first tell your target audience what you believe. This is what you have to communicate. You have to communicate to your target audience, not your features, your products and features and services. You have to communicate to them what you believe. People care more about what you believe than what you do. And let me give you an example of that. You notice I start every one of our podcasts and every one of our visuals and all my teachings with, I believe that you need a business coach to help you develop a successful business practice. I believe you need a coach if you're going to have a successful medical practice. That's what I believe. I don't tell you, well, here's what we're going to do. 1, 2, 3, 4. I tell you what I believe. And because I believe that you need a coach, it determines the actions that I'm going to take and what I am going to do. So when you communicate your values to your market, you have to differentiate yourself from all the other people that do similar things that you do and from all the other doctors, from other competitors. You have to show how you're different. And the first way you show how you're different is you tell people what you believe. So when I communicate at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center to our target audience, I tell them, I believe that you and all your friends need a health coach. You need a doctor and a staff of professionals who can coach you on a path of health and wellness naturally without using pharmaceutical drugs so that as you mature, you enjoy a better quality of life. Then I asked them, does that make sense? That's how I communicate to our target audience with what I believe. I want to find out right from the get-go, do they too believe that they need a coach? Do they believe that they can have health and wellness naturally? Do they believe that they can do it without pharmaceutical drugs? Do they want to have an improving life as they mature or not? I ask them if it makes sense. They either agree or they don't. If it makes sense to them, guess what? They're going to want to purchase my goods or services and acquire my ability to coach them and my providers and staff's ability to coach them on a path of health and wellness naturally. If they don't want it, they say no. So then you know quickly whether people are interested in what you're doing and whether you have an opportunity to help these people. The next thing I like to do is I like to make sure I have a message that both attracts and repels. And so that means you've got to take a position. You notice I take a position in my explanation of services, what I believe, that I believe that you need to be coached to get on a path of health and wellness naturally. That's natural approaches to health as opposed to pharmaceutical approaches to health. This is without pharmaceutical drugs. So immediately I am going to take sides between natural approaches and pharmaceutical drugs. I believe that pharmaceutical drugs are toxins and thereby poison your body. I do not believe that you can poison yourself to good health by using pharmaceutical drugs. So immediately by taking these positions, I am going to repel certain people. I'm going to repel many conventional physicians. I'll repel the people in the pharmaceutical industry. I'll repel anybody who relies upon conventional medicine and upon pharmaceutical drugs to help them be healthy. On the other hand, I'm going to attract individuals that understand that the pharmaceutical medical establishment wants to keep them as cash cows, keep them sick, never get them well, treat their symptoms rather than correct the underlying cause of their symptoms. So I'm going to repel certain people and attract others. And I want to do that so that when I have people that want to do business with me, want to be our guests, our patients here at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center, we're like-minded. We believe the same things. It's a whole lot easier to do business with people who agree with what you agree, what your underlying premise is. So it's very important to have a strong message that either repels or attracts. You might say, well, gosh, I need to try to reach everybody. Well, in trying to be something to everybody, you'll be nothing to anybody. You're not going to, if you don't take a stand on what you believe about the practice of medicine, you won't have a strong base of supporters. Your supporter strength will be an inch deep and a mile wide. You want to have people that believe in you a mile deep. You want them to put their confidence in you because they know they can count on you and where you stand on the relationship of how they can get well. And you believe that they can get well naturally. People are attracted to that. They will be your longtime faithful patients, and they'll be your referrers. So that's very important for you to differentiate yourself and create a message which attracts and at the same time repels. So let's talk about 3 things you can do to market yourself. The first thing I want to talk about is becoming a person of interest. How do you become a person of interest? Well, you first come up with an explanation of services. So when people go and meet you at a party, you're not simply like all the other people they meet. When they walk around and say, well, what do you do? You go, well, I'm a doctor. What do you do? I'm a lawyer. What do you do? I own an air conditioning company. What do you do? Well, I own a shoe store. What do you do? Well, I own a filling station. They're telling people what they do. You don't want to be like that. You want to be a person of interest. So when you meet somebody, you want to share with them what we believe, just like we've talked about. So if somebody comes up to me and says, what do you do at a party? I say, well, first, let me tell you what I believe. I believe that you and everybody needs a health coach. You need a staff of professionals and a doctor to coach you on a path of health and wellness naturally. So as you mature, you enjoy a better quality of life without the use of pharmaceutical drugs. Does that make sense? This is what I say to somebody at a party. I'll guarantee you I'll be the only person that tells them what I believe in and gives them an explanation of services. And I'll know right away whether they're interested in what I do, but I promise you I will be a person of interest. When they leave that party, they'll go home and tell their spouse, wow, did you meet Dr. Hotze? He's something. They'll say that because I have explained my services to them. The other thing, to become a person of interest, you put yourself out there. You put your statements of what you believe on the radio, on the TV, in your advertisements, in speaking events. You line these up and you begin to make yourself a person of interest. You can't sit back in your office and become a person of interest. You have got to get out and make your positions known. So you have to know what you believe first, and then you have to communicate what you believe. And there are a lot of individuals who don't have the courage of their convictions, so they won't stand up for what they believe. I don't care if it's in their view of medicine or if it's their view of politics or of religion. They just don't want to rock the boat. They're worried people will think badly of them if they take a stand. And I promise this, if you're unwilling to share what you believe with other individuals, you'll never be a person of interest. People are interested in people that take a stand and share what they believe, whether they agree or not. It creates controversy. You go, I don't want to be controversial. Oh, no. You want to be controversial. You want people to talk about you, what you do, where you go, what you're saying, because you become a person of influence, and a person of influence leads people to follow their underlying worldview or philosophy. And that's what I'm doing with you. I am taking a stand and telling you that you've got have to have an explanation of services if you want to be successful. If you want to be successful, you have to be a person of interest. You have to be willing to put your message out on radio or TV. You have to be willing to put it out in magazines. You have to have speaking events. The other thing that's really important to do is write a book. Now, you don't need to write a tome, but just write a book. And it can be short, 30 or 40 pages. Small little books are very influential. Now, I've written 3 books. I've written Hormones, Health, and Happiness. I've written Hypothyroidism, Health, and Happiness. And I've written a short little book called Do a 180, Join the Wellness Revolution. If you'd like a copy of that, you can go to our website at hotzeelite.com, hotzeelite.com, get a copy of that book. You need to write a book about what you believe about medicine, that you can give to your current patients and that you can send to prospective patients. So another thing you can do is have online digital marketing. So not only should you have radio, TV, advertisements, and publications and be speaking at public events, at all times, and whatever you write or say, you tell people what you believe. And you're either going to attract or repel certain people. That's fine. You write a book and you tell people what you believe about your practice of medicine and how people can get healthy and well naturally. And then you do online and digital social marketing. You create a website, which I trust every one of you has. I had one of the first websites ever in medicine way back in the year, I think it was around 2000, we created our first website and beat many, many to the field there. Get yourself a good YouTube account, a Facebook account. Have blogs, Twitters, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and you have a team that manages this, or you contract this to individuals. Well, I know many of you are thinking to yourself, man, that's overwhelming. I'm just covered up seeing 40 or 50 or 60 patients a day trying to make ends meet. My insurance isn't paying me the way I thought it would. It's discounting my claims, and it's got slow pay, and I've got problems with my staff. Dr. Hotze, you just don't know how hard this is. It's just hard. It's overwhelming. And I understand. It can be when you look at everything. Look, Rome wasn't built overnight. The Hotze Health and Wellness Center wasn't built overnight. We've been in practice at this location at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center for we started here in this particular office building that I own now in 1991. We started our first part of Hotze Health and Wellness Center in 1989 in a small little office. So it has been, since that time, almost 20 years as of this broadcast, for us to have, it's almost 30 years since we started. So it takes about 30 years of hard work to become an overnight success. You understand what I mean? It didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to happen to you overnight, but you've got to make a start and realize that you have got to begin touting and publicly offering your goods and services first by telling people what you believe. That's going to attract them to you. And then based upon what you believe, you can tell them why you offer certain products or certain services. Many of you say, gosh, I can't afford all that. Well, if you want to do a 180 and have more time, more money, and more freedom to enjoy your life, you can't afford not to market this way. So alternatively, you can be so good at creating value with your patients that they become your marketing force. They're your marketing arm, and you can build referral sources through them. But it's very important, I think, to have both a public profile, and that can be simply through Medical Minute radio broadcasts, and you don't have to have a show. Listen, for starting in 2001, I had a radio program in Houston, Texas, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, from between 12 and 1 o'clock or 1 and 2 o'clock at different times. I did that up until November of 2016, in 2017, at which time I decided, you know what, I'm going to make a change, and I'm going to transition to social media and spend my marketing dollars there rather than on holding a radio program. But I continued to have medical wellness minutes, which are broadcast on local radio stations in the greater Houston area to keep my branding up. Also, I was on TV on Channel 11 once a month here in Houston, Texas, which is a CBS station on Great Day, Houston. And I was on that program once a month from 2002 up until November 2017. I have transitioned everything into social media now. So we have podcasts, we have YouTube, we've got Facebook, and the dollars that we were spending on our marketing on radio and TV, we have now transitioned to Facebook. And the long and the short, the reason I made the decision is that we saw that radio and TV the yield was going down. When we first started on radio, TV, it was crazy. But now as people have got new sources of information, they don't have to listen to the radio anymore. You can have, if you want music, you got Pandora or Sirius Music. You don't have to listen to the radio station for music anymore. And talk shows, you can listen to podcasts. You can go to wherever you want on Sirius, and you can pick your own shows. So standard radio listening audience has been dramatically falling over the last 8 or 10 years, dramatically. So is TV. You got so many opportunities. Rather than going to get 6:30 News, you can look at everything and pick it up on Facebook before it gets there. You can get all your news on Facebook or on any one of these websites that have aggregated news. You pick up your news. You can go to Breitbart. You can go to Drudge. You can go to anything and pick up your news, whatever news you want. So people use less TV and less radio. So you're spending all your money on marketing there, but nobody's listening, or nobody's watching. So you have to go where the people are. And the wonderful thing about social media is you can target your audience, and you can know if they're looking at your videos. It's real simple. So you know what it's costing you per what we call per click or per video view, as opposed to what your what your cost would have been on TV or on radio. Well, we'll be doing future podcasts on how you can get yourself involved with social media and how you can be effective on Facebook and the other social media. We'll also have future podcasts on how you can create value with your current guests so that they refer you new guests. Well, we've covered a lot of ground regarding the question of marketing your medical practice today. Just remember where we started. If you've got something to sell and you go and whisper in a well, you're never going to do as well as someone who gets on the roof and hollers about their products and services. So marketing is essential to you in order to target your key audience so that they know you have products and services to sell. And I believe marketing is the best way to bring you the highest quantity and quality of leads for your practice. Now, I've been doing this for years, and it is time consuming, and it can be resource heavy, and it's in constant need of refreshing. And that's what I've established Hotze Elite Physicians to do for you, to provide you with training in both medical and business protocols, including how you can market your practice. All you need to do is put in your application, join, and once you're joined and accepted in Hotze Elite Physicians, then you can go to our modules on business protocols, modules on medical protocols, and begin taking notes and applying them to your practice. So I want to recommend that you do 3 things today. Right now, I want you to visit my website, hotzeelite.com. Secondly, there's an application online for you to join Hotze Elite Physicians. Fill that out. If you're accepted in Hotze Elite Physicians, then you will gain access to all my medical and business protocols. So take a few minutes to fill out and submit the application. If you meet our standards, then one of my assistants will contact you to set up a complimentary consultation to determine the best way for us to proceed with you. Now, thirdly, let me encourage you to watch my webinar on how to build a successful medical practice. You can find it on Hotze Elite Physicians website or at Hotze Elite Physicians /webinar. Hotze Elite Physicians /webinar. I believe that you need a coach to help you build a successful medical practice so that you can have more time, more money, and more freedom to enjoy your life. Does that make sense to you? If it does, then we're here to help.
If you're ready to do a 180 and take charge of your practice and your life, make sure to visit hotzeelite.com for all the tools and resources you need to transition into a cash-based practice. More time, more money, and more freedom to enjoy your life is waiting for you at hotzeelite.com.
This podcast is solely for education.